Good day, awesome YouTubers. It is Lollyman16 here again for another Dragon Ball Battles video. This one I researched quite a bit. This is going to be Fusion Zamasu or Merged Zamasu versus Omega Shenron, or also known as Yi Shenlong. And this battle, we're gonna do some interesting things here in this one. I'm gonna give you the skills for, of course, both fighters. I'm gonna give you their weaknesses and the scenario and the overall conclusion of this fight. This one was a pretty popular one that was going around recently because of the end of the Future Trunks arc. So I thought I'd go ahead and make a battles video to kind of discuss who I think would win between these two supervillains. So first we're going to look at Zamasu because he's obviously first. We're going to look at him and then we're going to look at Omega later on. Obviously Zamasu, Dragon Ball Super, he is basically the final antagonist of the Future Trunks arc. He was created with the Potara earrings via Goku Black and Future Zamasu. Now, he has quite a lot of abilities. First of all, let's talk about his strength. He could go ahead and take on two Super Saiyan Blues, Goku and Vegeta, both at the same time with relative ease. And he was also able to defeat Trunks in his new form, also with relative ease, until later on when he got mutated. Moving on to his abilities, he can use Ki Blasts, Zenkai Boost from Goku Black. He is a martial arts prodigy as of Zamasu. He can use Goku's skills because he is obviously in Goku's body, fused with Zamasu's body. He has pseudo-immortality. Now what this means is that, remember in, I believe it's episode 65, but I believe that's the one, 64 maybe, I'm not quite sure. In one of those episodes, remember guys, that he was mutated. He became damaged, at least part of him became damaged, and therefore was not fully immortal. He could actually still be killed via Future Trunks, but that's what I mean when I say he has pseudo-immortality. He still has the immortality of Zamasu, but he doesn't have the full immortality because he is fused with a Ningen or a mortal known as Goku Black. Other interesting techniques, he has the Blades of Justice, Sabaki no Yaiba. He has the Wall of Light, that is Zettai, or excuse me, the Wall of Light, it doesn't have really a name. And he has Zettai no Ikazuchi, or the Lightning of Absolution. And not only that, he has his strongest and most powerful technique, which is basically a giant sun-like ki blast, which he throws at his opponents by yelling a chant that goes something along the lines of "Strike down the mortal one, Seinaru Gekirin," or Holy Wrath. Moving on to Zamasu's weaknesses and some other notable skills. First of all, he tanked the final Kamehameha of Super Saiyan Blue Vegito, who in my opinion should be leagues above Lord Beerus at this point. I mean, you know, if he isn't, that's going to be a major problem with the power scaling that Toriyama has. I know that Toriyama has said in the past that Goku and Vegeta, you know, he has no plans of making them stronger than Beerus, but based on power scaling alone, they should be able to defeat Zamasu. Lord Beerus. So anyway, going off that power scaling, he completely took the final Kamehameha and forced Vegito to revert into Goku and Vegeta. He tanked it no problem. And yeah, overall he's a very dominant character. He has three forms: his regular form, which is just the regular fusion, and also the powered up version of that, where he uses his Wall of Light behind him, which looks like a halo. He has his mutated and large form, which it's basically his mutated form is what I explained earlier, where Goku Black, the side of Goku Black version of him was damaged, and he has his large version, which he increases his muscle mass, but therefore decreases speed, and allowing Vegito to easily overtake him at that point. And he has his immortal soul, version, which I will get into later on in this battle. In terms of weaknesses, he is obviously too cocky and too arrogant, believing that the gods are way ahead of the Ningen or mortals. He drops his guard regularly, as shown in episode 65 when he fought Vegito, and of course in previous episodes when Goku just punches him right in the face because he's just, not talking about his immortality. And because of this, he relies way too heavily on his immortality. Okay, guys, he obviously relies on it so much that, every time when he gets hit by someone, he actually feels overjoyed, which actually he's kind of a masochist in that sense, where he just likes the pain. Now, moving on, his intelligence, well, there really isn't any intelligence other than the fact he is a prodigy fighter and he has Goku's skills, and of course we all know that Goku is a genius when it comes to martial arts. But it should be noted here that he cannot fully control Goku's body. As stated in Vegeta, I believe in episode 63, that obviously he'll never be able to use Goku's full abilities because he's not a Saiyan, and he hasn't lived in Goku's shoes for, the countless amount of battles Goku has had in the past. One more thing I want to note before I move on to Omega Shenron, he does have Zenkai boost from Goku Black, so he can get stronger, just to let you guys know. So moving on to Omega Shenron, he is created via the Black Star Dragon Balls. He is actually the one-star dragon, Sin Shenlong, who is actually, he absorbed all the 7 Black Star Shadow Dragon, the Shadow Dragons, he absorbed the Dragon Balls, and therefore became Omega Shenron. His abilities, he has Ki Blasts, Heat Manipulation from Nova Shenron, Ice Manipulation from Ice Shenron, obviously. He has Regeneration from, I believe, Haze Shenron. He has other things such as Dragon Ball Power from the Dragon Balls, and what happens here is he powers up and the Dragon Balls within his chest, they light up and they give him essentially more power, and essentially they give him more of the abilities of the other Shadow Dragons. He has Lightning Power and he has Absorption, whatnot, and don't forget he has those deadly spikes on his back that can pierce through Super Saiyans pretty easily. He did this with Vegeta. And his most powerful attack noted is the Negative Energy Ball, wherein he creates a large amount of negative energy and creates it into a giant Ki Blast, throwing it at his opponent. Moving on to some of his other things about him, his intelligence, well, he is none noted. Feat-wise, Omega Shenron, he's not really that strong. Let me go ahead and lower this music here. Omega Shenron, he doesn't have really many feats other than, taking out the Z fighters, Gohan, Goten. But of course it should be noted that at this point all the other Z fighters except for Goku and Vegeta were really weak, and basically they had no importance in the story. But that's another video for another day. Anyway, he took on the Z fighters with ease and he destroyed a city with ease, and I don't know, it's really inconsistent there because everyone thought that was impressive. One more thing, he took the Big Bang Kamehameha in terms of durability, but he was severely injured after that. Weaknesses, he's obviously way too cocky, and even though he tried to prevent the fusion from happening, he let it happen in the end. Now he can be vaporized and he can lose the Black Star Dragon Balls, as shown at one point when the 4-star Dragon Ball was released from him and Nova Shenron came out of it. One more thing to note about vaporization, yeah, he can be vaporized, but it takes a heck of an amount of energy. It took pretty much everyone in the entire universe to create a Genki Dama, or a Spirit Lam, large enough to defeat him. Now we're going to move on to the scenario of this fight. It's going to be on Earth. No weapons are allowed, so that means, no swords, no Sender Beans. Well, Zamasu has his Keyblade, which will be allowed in this one. And they can't have any outside help, except for the fact that obviously this battle is Omega Shenron versus Fusion Zamasu. So Potara earrings and Black Star Dragon Balls are allowed, and they're gonna fight on Earth, just to make it simple. So how I see this battle going about is, okay, so they're gonna fight obviously on Earth. I'm gonna predict right now that Omega might edge it out in terms of power, maybe. That's a whole another argument there on power scaling. Zamasu is going to have the upper hand in skills, so because obviously he's a martial arts prodigy, and you know, Omega Shenron, he doesn't really know much about martial arts, just punch and kick really. You know, I really don't think he has anything in that category really. How I see this going is Omega might have the upper hand in terms of power, but Zamasu may come back with some Zenkai boosts, and he has the Keyblade, which is pretty deadly. But he'll let his guard down, I think, and Omega is going to go ahead and, you know, he might stab him in the back with those spikes, but it doesn't really matter because he has pseudo immortality. That's why I really want to get down to the crux of this fight. It's going to be a really close fight, but in the end, it's going to come down to a couple of things. Number one, Zamasu has the pseudo-immortality factor, whereas Omega Shenron does not. Now, I will have to say that Omega Shenron, he does have his, the whole thing about his regeneration, where he was punched right through the chest with the Dragon Fist, but he came back with the regeneration. But he can't do that all the time, and maybe the Holy Wrath might be able to vaporize him. I'm not sure about that. That's kind of ambiguous as to whether it's strong enough to actually take him out. Moving on, Zamasu has obviously the skills and obviously the immortality factor. But the real thing about this battle is it really comes down to, can Omega Shenron be vaporized in the end? And my thought here is no. I actually don't think that Zamasu will be strong enough to actually go ahead and vaporize him. I don't think he'll create a Ki Blast large enough to break down Omega Shenron. Another interesting thing to note here, I think I mentioned this earlier in the battle. Zamasu took on the final Kamehameha with ease, and you know, he might actually be stronger in terms of durability. I mean, he took the final Kamehameha, whereas the Big Bang Kamehameha from Super Saiyan 4, Gogeta, was able to pretty severely injure Omega Shenron. Now, I know, guys, we're comparing two different characters here, Vegeta and Gogeta, and whether one is canon and one is not. Again, that's a whole nother video on whether what is canon and what is not, or GT versus the whole Super thing. We're not going to get into that. We're just going to go ahead and focus on these two characters. So Zamasu might actually edge him out in that category with Zenkai boost. But even if Omega Shenron, even if he's able to defeat Zamasu with his negative energy ball, it wouldn't really matter in the end because of his immortal soul factor. And this is really the conclusion of the battle. I think that Zamasu will win at the end because of this one factor alone that turns the whole thing around. That's the immortal soul. Okay, Zamasu, he can use his body essentially to, what Gowasu says, to essentially take over or tries to be, quote unquote, the universe. And what he does here is he's evolving to an what I think it is an omniscient, omnipresent type of character where he's becoming everything. The only way to defeat him is with a nigh omnipotent being like Zeno-sama, you know, the future Omni King, to go ahead and wipe him out instantly. And I don't think, no matter how much negative energy or Ki Blast or whatever Omega throws at him, it won't do anything. I mean, Zamasu would just win at the end. Omega Shenron would run out of Ki ki or energy, and Zamasu in the end would just use his energy to vaporize him in the end. That's what I think. So guys, overall this battle, I'd have to say that Zamasu wins in the end. Initially it's going to be a tough fight, but in the end it just, I mean, in terms of hacks, Zamasu has it, guys. So again, that's been my discussion for this battle. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Subscribe if you haven't to Lollyman16. Again, everything in the description. Again, I want to give a big shout out to Herms for all the translations that I have so far, where I got this information off of, and Kanzenchu, big support to Kanzenchu for the episode titles and whatnot. And yeah guys, let me know in the comments below. I'll see you guys later. Stay awesome everybody, and have a good one.